You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. Can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide. You can run, but you can't hide.
What up? What up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm MoeDotJ. It's a To Be Tuesday, but it's also a documentary day. We supposed to be on the Mo You Know. We on MoeDotJ. We streaming on everything today. We have a documentary, The Queen of Cocaine. Tubi is just releasing them bike to bike to bike. And of course, we're going to watch them, but we're going to be on the main channel today because this is what I enjoy. More than TV shows, movies, I love documentaries. I can sit around and watch documentaries all the time. Now, my go-to type documentaries are World War II and Vietnam, but also when it gets into this drug smuggling, oh, that's one of the top ones also, followed by American Greed. American Greed is probably my number one documentary type show to watch. Then the wars, but now we got some cocaine. I used to watch Narcos, uh, Pablo, El Chapo. Well, before all of them, it was the Queen, Griselda Blanco. Now, she paved the way for a lot of these traffickers and cartels, and she did it. She did it for a while too. She was locked up behind bars calling shots here in the United States of America. So we're gonna go ahead, jump into this. You know what I mean? Now I think this documentary is about an hour and a half, maybe. But y'all know me. We got to find all the evidence and we got to start piecing things together. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you're on the Mo You Know channels, hit that. We only need 2 subscribers on the Mo You Know. We'll have 200 over there. So it's a slow grind, but we already know how that is. But we're gonna get right back into that. Hit that like button. Tell me, what do you know about Griselda Blanco besides her getting shot after they left? Well, after they got her out of the States and they sent her back down to Colombia. What do you know about her? What have you heard about her? Is the hype to be believed or is the hype just hype? You know what I mean? Shout out to AGA Productions. It's my cousin's company here. You know what I mean? This is the one that be shooting all the films, you know what I'm saying? The commercials, you know what I mean? So shout out to my cousin Khaled. But this seems like it's going to be an interesting one. I'm surprised that Tubi is actually coming out with all of this, but then again, Tubi is owned by Fox, so they have the resources. They have the resources, and let's see what they talking about. Queen of Cocaine, 2023 release date, hour 24, runtime roughly about 2 hours for us. TV mature, but luckily for us, it's documentary type, so we can show a majority of this. In a crime world made for men, one woman, Griselda Blanco, the godmother of cocaine, dared to pave the way for the most infamous Colombian cartels. All right. Now, I've heard all about her. They call her the Black Widow. She was knocking off husbands. She was doing a lot of stuff back in the day. Now, this documentary, I'm not sure how in depth it goes because I didn't watch it. I waited till we get on here. But I've heard stories. I've heard things. They said she was bigger than Pablo. She was bringing in like 80 M's, 100 M's, a milli a day. She was really doing it. She was really doing it. Now, there's a lot of stories about her. She was also dating this black gentleman here in the States after she got locked up. They were pen pals. They ended up messing with each other. She ended up sending people to go shoot at him. It's a long story, but that's hopefully what they cover here in this Tubi documentary. So let's go ahead and jump into it. This is Queen of Cocaine on Tubi. Like I said, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit that like button. Let's see what it's talking about. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the audio.
They were some of the most terrifying cartel leaders the world has ever known. El Chapo and Pablo Escobar. Men with insatiable appetites for chaos and carnage. But neither could match the talent nor the genius of the visionary who came before them.
She reached the top of the mountain in a world dominated by alpha males in the 1980s. At the height of her operations, Griselda Blanco was moving tons of cocaine.
She was making $10 to $80 million a month.
She didn't play. When you're in the drug game, the number one thing is don't play with my money.
And he's like, if you're the son of the godmother of cocaine, you're the son of the lady who invented the cocaine game as we know it.
But there's a bloody cost to her success.
The shootout occurred at about 2:30 this afternoon.
Now, you don't know about this infamous shootout at the shopping center in Miami. We're going to have to do a little bit of research. We're going to see what they talk about this, but it was a van that pulled up and this van went crazy. She was ordering hits. It didn't matter. They were doing drive-by hits on the back of motorcycles like they were doing in Colombia, here in the United States. Griselda Blanco wasn't playing around. She was the Black Widow.
Afternoon when two or more Latin males entered the Crown Liquor Store here on the west end of the Baytown Mall.
She's responsible for approximately 200 murders, more than Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy combined.
The coroner had to rent refrigerated trucks just to store the bodies.
She made a lot of widows and orphans.
How did this godmother become one of the most dangerous women in history?
She was smart. She was persuasive. She was a leader.
This is the true story behind the rise, reign, and fall of Griselda Blanco, the queen of cocaine.
Hey, shout out to Eric, Cocaine Cowboys 1 and 2. If you haven't watched them, go check them out. Obviously, I can't play them on here, but check out Cocaine Cowboys 1 and 2. It goes more in depth.
February 17th, 1985. DEA agents are on a secret mission. Take down Griselda Blanco, one of the biggest and most elusive narco traffickers the world has ever known. After doggedly hunting the queenpin for over a decade, they've finally tracked her down to this innocuous suburban hideout.
Innocuous.
The agents know the deadly drug lordess won't go down without a fight and enter ready for battle.
My partner and a couple of guys went through the front door. The rest of the surveillance guys went through the back door. We did a security sweep downstairs, making sure that there was nobody in it. And then my partner and I raced up the stairs to a master bedroom.
But when the feds throw open the door, they're met with a startling sight.
Griselda in bed, reading the Bible.
Agent Palombo is undeterred.
Showed her my credentials. I said, hola, Griselda. And she said, no, mi amo Betty. I said, no, I don't think so.
Damn, hey, you got to give her some credit. She was in the bed reading the Bible and told them, nah, my name is Betty. My name is Betty, but the police didn't care. Then they got her. She was in the Bible, in the bed reading the Bible. Police kicked in the door. Oh, no, Betty. Mi nombre es Betty. Betty. Like, nah, then that's some G shit.
It's a stunning fall for a woman who rose from one of the poorest places on earth to become one of the richest and most feared cartel leaders ever known. Born into a life of poverty, Griselda Blanco lives her early years in the slums of Medellin, Colombia.
Medellin.
My mother lived in the Holy Trinity, also known as El Barrio Antioquia. It was basically like the den of thieves, El Barrio Antioquia. There was no more criminal neighborhoods in Medellin. If you wanted to smoke reefer, get a prostitute, play with numbers, alcohol bootlegging, rooster fights, you would go to this neighborhood.
Medellin at the time is very much like a war-torn area. There's violence everywhere, there's crime everywhere, there's poverty everywhere.
They were very poor. My mother told me one day we were playing soccer and all the little girls made a circle and they started laughing at me. All the blood and the guts from the slaughterhouse and the rain, it was like getting on her feet. She looked horrible and she felt so ridiculed. My mother broke down crying and she said that right then and there is when she made the decision that the day she had children, they were going to live in the lap of luxury.
Now, what they're saying is her coming from these humble beginnings, poverty-stricken. She wasn't in the streets because she wanted to be. She was in the streets because she had to be. Now, she made sure, and this was a promise that she had, all the other kids laughing at her. She said her kids will never want for anything. So this was the day she decided that she was about to turn the city up. Colombia is on my list. I definitely have to go visit Colombia.
And that's when she made up her mind to do whatever she had to do in life. So she started going around the city and she would pickpocket. And she would run from bus to bus, circle the city 2-3 times, make it home with money. She'd always tell me, Michael, I created everything with these 2 fingers.
Looking to make more money fast, Griselda hatches an ambitious plan when she's just 11 years old.
She's out in the streets of Medellin, running with a small gang of kids, kidnap a boy, hold him for ransom, contact his family, let them know what's going on.
But when the family refuses to pay Griselda her ransom demand, she's determined to send a message.
She took a gun into the room and shot him.
Damn, at 11 years old?
It proves early on that she learned a very powerful lesson about fear and violence.
At 11, 12 years old, that's what she was doing? Knocking them down? Damn. Now, I didn't know about that part. I knew she was in the game, but I didn't know she was kidnapping people and holding them for ransom and then knocking them. Damn. Sheesh.
2 years later, while working her next hustle as a prostitute, a 13-year-old Griselda meets the man who will change her life.
Carlos Trujillo makes his living forging documents to move people from Colombia into the United States illegally.
She was very drawn to him, his criminal savvy, and she fell for him.
Carlos is equally smitten, and the couple become inseparable. They marry when Griselda is still a teenager.
I would say a safe assumption for Griselda at this time when she marries Carlos is that it's pure survival mode. It's a bit of a step up from where she was, and at that point, she's looking for anything to give her a bit of stability.
The couple literally forge a new life together, using Carlos's counterfeiting skills.
Not Griselda putting together the fake passport. What is this? Valeria Sanchez? That's what she was going by? Was this 72? Damn, she's putting together fake passport. So she lived an interesting life. So at 13, she got married to this guy. He's helping out because he knows how to forge documents. And they come into the United States illegally.
They create their own set of documents to illegally enter the United States and expand their criminal empire.
She makes her way up to New York, and they set up shop pickpocketing and forging documents.
It's not long before Griselda and Carlos's operation welcomes new members, their 3 sons, Dixon, Uber, en Osvaldo.
She seems to be, by all accounts, a very loving mother. She loves her children more than anything else.
But as successful as Griselda's business life is, her personal life flounders, and she and Carlos separate.
Damn, Carlos.
I would ask her, so what did you do next? And she told me, well, Michael, I looked around and I said, what am I supposed to do? Let these boys just be comfortable with a mediocre life? She said, no. I decided to use all the connections that I met in New York, the Peruvians and the Bolivians.
Griselda continues clawing out a life.
Griselda kind of look like a singer, don't she? She look like a background singer. She could have been definitely a part of the Moets. You know what I mean? We need a good background singer. No disrespect. I'm just saying. She looked famous.
In the underworld until she meets and marries a man with bigger ambitions and deeper pockets. Fledgling drug dealer Alberto Bravo.
Alberto Bravo is an upper middle class Colombian. He's a businessman. It didn't take Alberto long to know that Griselda was a very, very smart person, was a ruthless criminal, and she would make a perfect ally for him.
And they quickly got into the cocaine business and moved to Queens, New York, and that's when things really took off.
America's appetite for drugs is starting to change. And certainly by the early 1970s, cocaine is starting to become more and more popular.
Cocaine was seen as a club drug. It's the perfect drug for keeping the party going. That's why cocaine became very popular in the 1970s. It was just like insatiable.
I better not hear none of y'all on that shit, man.
The criminal couple see a tremendous opportunity to up their fledgling coke operation.
Griselda and Alberto had connections to very good products because Colombia is a great place to grow cocoa. They're able to get it in mass quantities, which gives them a serious advantage.
But they have a problem. Finding a way to smuggle the cocaine from Colombia to New York.
Back then, U.S. Customs inspectors are routinely trained what to look for, the origin of the flight, body language, the nationality of the person. Griselda was up at night trying to devise ways to get the drugs in undetected.
She's putting in that work, ain't she?
But then, Griselda has an epiphany.
Security doesn't look at women as closely. And then Griselda gets the idea, okay, so maybe we should start sewing pouches into undergarments.
They came up with the notion, all right, the airport's here. We can make these fake visas for all these beautiful models. You got the lingerie.
Hey.
They start stuffing it.
The basic procedure was that the young women would either start down in Colombia or fly down into Colombia, pick up the drugs, have them sewn into various undergarments, fly up to New York, take the drugs to a certain place, exchange the drugs for money, put the money back into those same hidden pouches and transport the money back to Colombia. So it was this back and forth flow.
You also got to remember back then, there wasn't security like it is now. As far as metal detectors, x-ray machines, they weren't really doing all of that back then. You could just hop on the plane. You could smoke cigarettes on the airplane. So traveling back then was a little bit different. It's really you just come to the airport, get your boarding pass, and you go on in there and just get on your flight. So it was easy for them to do this. And like she said, they noticed that they weren't patting down the women. But nowadays, you go through there, arms up, goes around, anything is going to detect it on you. Then you got the ion scanners where they rub your hands. They're basically trying to see if you've been dealing with any weapons or any kind of materials to create like bombs or anything. Now, those, you got to calibrate those. I think it's once every 18 months, but we used to calibrate, go check on them every 12 months, just so we could be update. Most of the times you have them you have an ion scanner. We usually sampled for them at the post office and at the front gate. You would use them just to see if anybody's been messing with any materials, saying any raw material that they can potentially make something hazardous. So you just do the ion scanner. So whenever you see them doing that, if they ain't calibrated, of course, it's just like a radar detector. If it ain't calibrated, then it ain't really going to work. So I always ask them, when's the last time they calibrate whenever I go through the airport, you know what I'm saying? Just to see what they going to say and see if they up on it. Now, I ain't no safety officer or anything anymore, but that's just one thing I always look at.
Flow of drugs from Colombia to New York, money from New York to Colombia.
She has them flirt with the agents and, make sure that they get through. It was really brilliant.
That really cemented her role as someone who could be reliable to transport cocaine from Colombia into the United States.
The scam's so successful, Griselda starts a side hustle, manufacturing this special line of lingerie.
The original Fendi Beauty. The original Fendi Beauty. This was called Coca the Sky. That's what she was manufacturing. She was making Coca the Sky.
I hate to use the word brilliant, but part of Griselda Blanco's brilliance was that she really knew how to kill two birds with one stone. She would hide drugs within the pockets of a bra. But she had actually produced and manufactured an actual tangible product that could be sold in the legitimate market.
She created what I like to call Griselda's secret. She was a very shrewd, very intelligent woman, not book smart or, college educated, but she was street smart and really took it to the next level. Business was booming.
As demand for the drug grows, Griselda devises additional innovative methods to smuggle even more cocaine.
Anyone who doesn't look like a drug smuggler becomes a drug smuggler for Griselda. So we've got elderly people in wheelchairs taking cocaine through security, and we've got children.
The double bottom suitcase, the cocaine in the shoes. My mother created that. She was just savvy.
Man, Griselda's changed the game. She had people in wheelchairs. She had children. They had the false bottom on the suitcases, the soles of the shoes. She was an innovator. Whether we like it or not, she was an innovator. Now, was it innovative for the right things? No. But everything that we watch, this is where it originated from.
As Griselda and Alberto successfully move more and more cocaine into the U.S., user demand skyrockets. And so does the couple's operation. Soon they begin pulling in nearly $10 million every week.
She was a natural innovator. She was really like Wayne Gretzky, skating to where she thinks the puck is going, rather than where the puck is.
There was no stopping her. She just wanted more and more, and that's what she did.
But soon, a threat from within her own ranks will jeopardize the Queen of Cocaine's fledgling empire.
Think about this real quick. Say it's your first day on the job at TSA. You got a man coming through on a wheelchair, and you're like, all right, come on through. This is 70s. Come on through. Come on through. But then his shoe accidentally gets tripped up on the bottom of the wheelchair, and the sole falls off, and you just see a damn brick in the bottom of his shoe. Now, it ain't a full brick. It's probably about a quarter. It's probably, matted down. But you got that quarter in both shoes. That's a half a thing. You know what I mean? With two up under the seat. But we ain't going to talk about all that. Who was the first person to see a false bottom and be like, boss, we got something over here. I'm not sure what this is, but is this an insole or what is this? Is this powder? What is this? Why is this in the shoe? Who was the first person to find that damn shoe with a damn false sole on it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what this is. Hey, yeah, boss, there's something in this shit. This shit got me. Ooh, shit got me on some other shit, nigga. This shit pure. You know what I mean? Who was the first person to see that shoe? Because I would have seen this shoe and said, what is it? Nike. Who the fuck? Oh, no, this is Fendi by Griselda. No. Hey, we're going to go ahead and let that go. I don't know who did that. You know what I mean?
By the early 1970s, Griselda Blanco and her husband Alberto Bravo have established an extremely lucrative cocaine smuggling and distribution operation in Queens.
They're making money hand over fist. They're quickly learning how successful the cocaine business can be in America.
The wholesale price was probably $50,000-$60,000 a kilo. And I mean, they were probably bringing in 10, 12 kilos at a time. It was, for its day, extremely profitable.
My mother made up her mind to do whatever she had to do in life. My mother was different. She had a certain drive about her that she never stopped. You could see that ambition in my mother's eyes.
Survival skills are one of the most important business skills that are required, but are also underestimated. Sometimes the difference between a successful, legitimate leader and one that goes into more nefarious types of industries is just one or two qualities that kind of shift you in a different way. People speak about, do the means justify the ends? And in her mind, the means completely justified the ends.
To combat the cocaine scourge, state and federal law enforcement officials team up to form Operation Banshee.
Damn, not Operation Banshee.
Operation Banshee was created to focus on the increasing levels of violence and growing sophistication among drug traffickers from Colombia at that time. The Operation Banshee task force included homicide detectives in NYPD, as well as intelligence analysts from our agency.
We would spend days and days and days sitting on certain targets, watching their movements.
Eventually, investigators learn the names of three key suppliers.
Alberto Bravo,
Not Alberto.
Pepe Cabrera, and Griselda Blanco.
Griselda and Alberto were the highest level at that time. They were moving cocaine from Colombia to New York City through various means.
But the whereabouts of those targets were unknown because Griselda was an enigma. She was never seen by law enforcement in the States, never seen in New York.
The people that were in charge of that case had it out for my.
She was never seen in New York. She was the original ghost, and they were the original task force. This shit's getting out of hand. Art emulates life. Uh-oh. She was never seen in New York, so she was doing the thing. They said they were bringing in 10 million a week, and they never seen her before.
At that time, they were moving cocaine from Colombia to New York City through various means.
But the whereabouts of those targets were unknown because Griselda was an enigma. She was never seen by law enforcement in the States, never seen in New York.
The people that were in charge of that case had it out for my mother. Intro Bob Palomo. He was one of those agents.
Bob Palomo, middle name looks like it says Joseph. He's an agent, male, blonde hair, blue eyes. Oh, and he the ideal officer. Where's his employee number? We need that. We need that, Robert. Now, she'd never been seen by law enforcement, never been seen in New York, $10 million a week. The original ghost.
Agents I was in charge of pursuing my mother. And that's what he did.
Then in 1973, the agents get a lucky break. A woman named Maria Gutierrez reaches out to authorities with first-hand information about Griselda Blanco.
I'm gonna tell.
Maria Gutierrez owned a travel agency in Medellin. Griselda, who was outfitting mules, female couriers with drugs, needed a travel agency. And she had met Maria Gutierrez several years before and became somewhat friendly.
Griselda asks Gutierrez to book flights for her couriers to New York City through her travel agency.
Maria Gutierrez wanted no part of drug trafficking. So when Griselda approached her, she readily accepted and went to the DEA. And we instructed her to gather as much information.
The DEA told her to go back in there and gather. I was like, nigga, I gave y'all the information. Go do your fucking job. I'm not going back to gather no more information. They got Maria out here, and we already know at 11 years old, Griselda Blanco was knocking people down. We already know where this is going. See what the feds do? They said, all right, good. She's dangerous. Go back in there and get some more information. Man, hell no. I'm quit. Y'all need to send me to the States and protect me now. They said, go back and gather up as much information. I came to y'all because they're smuggling drugs. And you telling me go get more information? No, man. Damn, they just sent Maria back in there. That's fucked up. That's some fucked up shit, man. They knew that Griselda was on some other shit, and they gonna say, go get some more information. And then he talking about, yep, and now right there, started the task force. Man, they just sent Maria back into the fire. We can't let, man, come on, man.
As she could, and that's what she did. Every time Griselda came to the travel agency to get tickets, it was concluded that those tickets were being used by her smugglers. So that was valuable intelligence.
Intelligence the DEA uses to begin seizing Griselda's smuggled cocaine shipments, including a massive 150-kilo haul worth an estimated wholesale value of nearly $11 million.
Damn.
To be able to find 150 kilos of cocaine in a single shipment and be able to confiscate it was unprecedented. This was unheard of at the time. Through that interception, the DEA can arrest a dozen or so foot soldiers from the group and can start slowly working its way into the ranks to Blanco and Bravo.
On April 30th, 1975, federal prosecutors indict Griselda, Alberto, and 36 of their alleged
Rico.
associates,
This is before the
charging
Rico.
them with conspiring to manufacture, import into the United States, and distribute cocaine. But there's a catch.
The federal government can't find Griselda Blanco. She is a phantom at this point.
She's still on the low. They know that Griselda is booking flights in Colombia. They already said they presume that every flight booked is drugs being moved. All they were doing was just catching it and doing a show, you know what I'm saying? The horse and pony show, and just catching the bricks over here, but allowing it to just keep coming to the States when they're gathering information. Griselda roughly brought in 150 bricks, but now they still don't know where she's at, but they know that she's down there booking the flights. Of course, she ain't the one physically going in there booking the flights, but you can still just trace it back. Just follow the paper trail. Who's coming in there? Where are they getting that information from? Tap their phone, follow it back. Man, dog, the DEA was just, all right, look, we got a shipment coming in, 150 keys. We're going to get this. I'm going to get promoted. Y'all going to get promoted. We're going to all get some bonuses. Bet we ain't going to stop nothing. We just going to stop the 150 when it get here. We're going to wait till it's a big bus, and we're going to take the 150 bus. All right, bet. Y'all ready? We're going to say it's $11 million. All right? On three. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 150, 11 mil. You know what I mean? What the fuck? Griselda's still kicking it. We don't know where she at. We don't even know what name she's going by at this point. We know that she had a fake passport back when she was a teenager.
They sort of traveled surreptitiously back and forth. When law enforcement got close, they would retreat to Colombia. The trail would go cold.
There was no extradition treaty back then. So she was basically thumbing her nose at the U.S.
At the time, we had no working relationship with Colombian law enforcement. The perpetrators really had a safe haven in Colombia, and they could operate out of their home base.
For now, Griselda remains out of the Fed's reach. But she's facing a bigger threat, her own conniving husband.
Not
And
Alberto.
She's not going to take it lying down.
Oh, Alberto!
By 1975, the DEA's prized targets, Griselda Blanco and her husband Alberto Bravo, have fled the U.S. for their native Colombia.
In Medellin, there was a large cocaine organization headed by Griselda Blanco, a flamboyant woman nicknamed by the Colombian newspapers La Madrina, or Godmother, now is in hiding.
By the time this unfolded, the teams assigned to Alberto Bravo and Griselda Blanco were unable to locate them because they constantly moved between Colombia and New York.
There's no social media. You're not going to be caught on surveillance, a couple hundred times a day. You're not leaving the same electronic footprint that you would leave now. So Griselda really had an easy time disappearing.
Yeah, man, you can go off in the hills and no one even know nothing about
But the
it.
drug lordess knows there are people who can identify her.
Uh-oh.
Or worse.
At this point, Griselda's starting to become a little bit paranoid. She knows someone's going to flip at some point to sell her out to save themselves, but she also thinks maybe there was someone really close to her that
What
might
up,
have given the
Jacoby?
DEA a heads up that made all this come down so quickly in the first place.
And no one makes Griselda more nervous than the man closest to her.
Griselda became a little suspicious.
How Griselda Blanco? She got so much money. She got the big face hundreds with the blue strips in 73. Griselda was getting so much money. I know I ain't the only one noticed. I said, them big faces? Wait a minute. Griselda, you mean to tell me she had the big face Hunduns back in 73, 75?
Of her husband, because he had fled to Colombia before her, and she thought maybe he was leaving her to take the rap for what they had done.
Griselda knows to keep her friends close and her potential enemies closer. Using their private jets, the couple secretly returned to New York to keep tabs on their growing drug empire.
Griselda and Alberto returned to the United States. They decided to divide and conquer. Alberto was going to stay in New York and run the drug trade there, but Griselda would move to Miami so they could expand. Man. What happened was that they were living two different lives, and it definitely led to the deterioration of their marriage.
Things really start to fall apart between Griselda and Alberto when she recognizes that he's stealing from the company. And this is a company that she's built. Yes, he brought her into it, but it's her innovations and it's her drug routes that really took this over the top. So now she's got a man taking advantage of her again, and that doesn't set well.
Even worse, Griselda believes Alberto is having
Alberto behind.
extramarital affairs.
The tipping point for Griselda was when Alberto goes to Colombia with his girlfriend and stays way too long.
Griselda probably felt embarrassed by this, and the fact that somebody would cheat on her really pissed her off, frankly.
Griselda realized she didn't need him. She didn't need him at all. And I think she just didn't care to have him as a partner anymore.
Co-founder breakups are extremely frequent. 35% of startups actually fail because of co-founder splits. Sometimes it's trust issues. Sometimes it's power and money and status issues. Sometimes it's about skills.
Man, this nigga done went on a damn vacation in Colombia where he knows that she be going back and forth to Colombia. She in Miami now. This nigga went on a month-long date with his girlfriend with the stolen money that he got from Griselda. Oh my goodness. He's done for, y'all. All he had to do was chill. I would have just been chilling in New York. I ain't gonna lie to you. Matter of fact, I probably would have came down to Miami with Bay. Kind of cold in New York. This is back when Miami was Miami. It ain't the Miami of today. It was Miami. You know what I mean?
Sees only one solution.
In her eyes, there was no other option. If somebody crossed her, they needed to die.
In the winter of 1975, Griselda flies back to Colombia to very publicly set things right with her husband.
Alberto has been in the nightclub with his bodyguards. He comes out of the nightclub and goes into the parking lot to get into his car. And Griselda and a couple of her guys pull up, and both sides exchange gunfire.
There's the
In
feds.
melee, Alberto shoots Griselda in the stomach.
Ow! Oh, she got the Tommy Egan. That nigga Alberto popped Griselda. Uh-oh. It's over with for you, mister. You know she about to put a hit on same night. She said, I want him dead tonight.
Turns fire, shooting her philandering husband right in the face.
Bow! Damn! Come on, Alberto, you need to
Alberto
make
and
it
his
through the night.
bodyguards are killed. Griselda falls back into her car. Her guys speed away, and now she's bleeding in the back of the car.
Miraculously, Griselda survives her life-threatening wounds. And with Alberto now dead, the crown is fully hers.
She's the boss. She's the queenpin of coke. There's now a woman running one of the most macho industries in the world.
Nah, I don't think y'all understand. She got hit in the gut. Still had enough strength to stand up and shoot Alberto in the face. hopped in the car, survived it, and went from making 10 million a week to we about to get into like 20 to 30 to 40. Oh Lord. Griselda was a bad woman. And we be talking about what we see on TV. This shit happened in real life. This shit happens in real life. Damn. Got hit in the gut, still pulled the trigger and knocked him off same night. I told you the same night. He wasn't making nowhere. Wasn't even gonna be a hit. Same night. Put that order in. Griselda wasn't playing. Hit that like button for me,
But she needs to
please.
kind of reevaluate things. And she's got to heal from this gunshot wound to the stomach. She really makes Colombia her home base for a while.
Down but not out, Griselda remains laser focused on business.
Griselda realizes that she's going to have to innovate new ways to get cocaine over to the United States from Colombia. So during the United States bicentennial celebration in 1976, there are a ton of ships that are being chartered over to the United States for this celebration.
Griselda devises a plan to put her largest shipment of coke ever, 1,000 kilos, onto one of the ships sailing out of Colombia.
Dog, 1,000 bricks on a boat during the bicentennial, 1976. So on the 200-year anniversary, she said, I'm gonna ship 1,000 bricks in up under their nose. Ain't that something? 1,000. She said, you know what? They took 150 from me. I'm gonna 10x that one. Put 1,000 on this motherfucking shipment. Send it up there. 1976. Damn.
Yeah.
The Gloria, a triple-masted ship. She must have thought that the ship would have diplomatic immunity and would get through pretty easily.
The Queen enlists the aid of her travel agent, Maria Gutierrez, not knowing her friend is a DEA informant.
Oh!
As Maria relates, they loaded the ship with the 1,000 kilos of cocaine. We immediately channel the information to the State Department. State Department says, unless you have more concrete, rather than just information from one cooperating individual, we're not going to cause an international incident. So thanks, but no thanks.
But when the ship docks in Miami, the DEA is waiting and seizes 13 pounds of cocaine.
13 pounds. I thought we had 1,000. Oh, Griselda was smart. Griselda already knew that somebody was telling, so she was gonna send a dummy. And then send the back door. Oh, Griselda. Damn, Griselda was on it. She already knew that somebody was fucking up. She knew somebody was giving up inside information. They want to put 13 pounds on this motherfucker. They said, yeah, we're gonna get you, all right. Damn. Okay.
An investigation was launched and the suspect people were detained. The drug was destroyed on board this ship today in the presence of federal drug enforcement agents.
Despite the small seizure, the operation's overall success emboldens Griselda.
I told you she backdoored that 1,000. She knew someone was telling. That's why she put a small amount to let them know, okay, I know y'all got somebody listening. That's why I sent this dummy mission. And the 13 or the 1,000 pounds, it went somewhere else. It went somewhere else. Okay, you know she backdoored that 1,000 pounds. 1,000 keys. And ain't no way they just sent 13 pounds. When we know 150 bricks got stopped up in New York a couple of years prior. Ain't no way. That 1,000 made it. That 1,000 made it.
She continues innovating her smuggling operation, looking for new ways to move even larger amounts of coke.
Griselda wanted to make Miami a hub for drug smuggling, and she begins to use the same tactics that other gangs use to bring marijuana into South Florida. Mostly speedboats, but then evolving into small planes.
Major Nick Navarro of the Broward County Sheriff's Organized Crime Department explains why South Florida is an ideal gateway.
We have a tremendous labyrinth of canals. We have more waterways than Venice, Italy.
At one point, there was an airfield out by the Everglades. There was a drop-off point for cocaine shipments.
In this area, smugglers have created.
Also, with this water being here, there's a couple of smugglers. They had those racing boats, and they used to win every year because they were getting drug money, and they had the best engines and everything. But they would hop on a boat from Miami, and and they would go down to what I think it was like down to Jamaica, and they would bring back weed and coke and shit. Man, there was a lot of stuff going on in Miami. It's crazy how all this is linked. Well, of course, they weren't working for Griselda, but they were working with people that, 2 degrees of separation. You know what I mean?
Landing strips up to 10,000 feet long. Very convenient for them to land, take off the goods from the aircraft, and then just take off again.
You could view South Florida as a bit of the Wild West, where there was very little security around the border. Certainly, there were not the technologies that we have today to stop smuggling of any kind, with radar, sonar, satellites. None of that stuff really existed in the 1970s. So the drugs can get from Miami to Los Angeles and New York and Chicago and Houston and any other city you can name in rapid fire succession.
They didn't really understand how to create routes or use the transportation or use these means of transportation. My mama said, Michael, there was nothing. I invented this. My mother was the first entity of drug trafficking as we know it.
What she did that really made it unique was being able to manage the supply and the demand seamlessly, and how they needed to get the inventory to her. She was very savvy in that sense.
With her empire expanding, Griselda takes a protege under her wing, only to watch him become her biggest rival.
Pablo
The machismo.
Escobar. Pablo had an interesting story also, man. He used to be like stealing TVs and shit, smuggling TVs. Start off a little bit of weed, the infamous mug shot. They arrested him, but then he got out and, everybody feared him. We're going to do a Pablo Escobar one day also. And that's the story I really want to watch.
Was big in Pablo. He wanted to rule.
Pablo is the reason why South America has hippopotamus. Pablo is the reason the ecosystem is fucked up down there, because Pablo had fucking hippos that got loose, and now there's hippos in South America. That's facts. All that came from Pablo's farm. I mean, from his zoo. Been some wild shit that was going on back in the day.
Season 10 goes big.
And, hey, this is starting to get interesting. Now we're getting into the parts that we kind of know about. Of course, I love hearing about the origin story, but we're starting to find out what was going on in the era that we knew. Scarface era, Pablo's around. So now it's starting to get into some stuff we know about that. We heard about that. I mean, of course, some of this Griselda stuff we heard about, but of course, Pablo was a bigger figure when it came to the world of drugs. You know what I mean? The image and likeness of Pablo is probably one of the biggest drug dealers ever. Him, El Chapo, but for the most part, when you think of like the biggest dope dealers ever moving that yayo, you usually think of Pablo. But Griselda was first. And he came up under her. She taught him the game. But instead of going to Miami, I mean, he did do the Miami and stuff, but he started going up through Mexico and everything. So he expanded on top of what she did. She took it to Miami. He continued to do the Miami routes, started buying the islands, do a little bit of hopping, but then he started taking it to another level, getting involved with governments, Nicaragua, what was his name? Cuba. You see what I'm saying? So he expanded on what she had put in place, but that's because he was the protege. And then he started getting the routes up through Mexico, and then that's what started to form the Mexican cartels, and that's how you get El Chapo, because it just branched off of what was already built. But yeah, it's crazy how all this shit just stacks up.
Atlantic Gulf Stream kisses the white sands of a tropical playground.
Miami started out in the 50s and 60s as a fairly sleepy city of about 250,000 people. Tourism mostly came from people who were fleeing the north during the winter months and coming down to get away from the cold.
Miami Beach was known as God's waiting room because it was a place where retired snowbirds would come down to live out their golden years. It was pretty much all senior citizens, and they're all living in these Art Deco buildings.
The city remains relatively quiet and peaceful until the late 1970s, when rising drug lordess Griselda Blanco makes it her new base of operations.
When Griselda Blanco moves down to Miami, she basically like just blows up. She is the queenpin of the cocaine era. She was responsible for the transportation of tons of cocaine from Miami to California and New York. She became the godmother, la madrina.
But Griselda's operation faces one major challenge: existing competition.
In South Florida, mostly the Cuban gangs ran everything. They ran the drug smuggling from places like Cuba and Jamaica. And then eventually the cocaine industry takes over South Florida, and the Cubans start to find their power reduced.
Although there were still many Cuban cocaine distributors, the Colombians took a bigger place. The Colombians were taking over.
And they were pumping it out
The
more.
Cubans don't take kindly to the new Colombian competition.
And so it becomes a turf war. She's ordering assassinations, ordering her rivals killed.
She went out there to terrorize her competitors. She thought that the more violent she became, the stronger her position became.
She had dozens of hitmen who were ready to go and perform killings whenever she made the order.
My mother told me once, she said, Michael, you know what's the easy way to deal with competition? Erase your competition, and then you have no competition. I was like, pretty deep thing to say.
She knows that as a woman, she has to prove a point, and she's willing to prove that point and go further than all the men.
That's the problem. She going further and further than all that the men are doing, but she in the United States doing this. Like the men and shit, they hold it down. Yeah, they go back and forth to the States also. They have property here, but they aren't ordering hits and doing all of this in the United States, which we know is going to eventually be her downfall because they jam her up. That's why everybody was staying in Colombia so they wouldn't get extradited back to the States. Yeah, she was wilding out, but she was doing a lot. You know what I'm saying? In the words of Gunna, she was doing too much.
I think that was probably the distinguishing feature of Griselda Blanco throughout her entire career, her willingness to go to violence so quickly. And I think that definitely helped them corner the market on cocaine.
Griselda, always the innovator, even invents a new type of execution: the motorcycle hit.
Two men, one on the back of a motorcycle with some kind of high-powered gun, drive up fairly close, fairly innocuously to the victim, helmeted, unidentifiable.
The passenger was free to just shoot ablaze wherever, they wanted to.
And then speed away before anyone really knows what happens. A whole new, exciting, terrible way of killing.
And a method Griselda generously employs. By 1976, Griselda has eliminated most of her...
Let's see, hold on, let me see.
Wherever, they wanted to.
And then speed away before anyone really knows what happens. A whole new, exciting, terrible way of killing.
And a method Griselda generously employs.
She laying out photos. This is who I want.
By 1970...
Miami cocaine import capital for the U.S. Mules make Miami cocaine import capital. So they knew what was going on. They just couldn't stop it.
76, Griselda has eliminated most of her competition and is supplying much of South Florida with cocaine.
She is importing an incredible amount of cocaine. She has more money, more resources.
And the more people use Griselda's product, the more they want it.
Griselda very intuitively understood the core product that she was selling. It was not necessarily cocaine, but it was the addiction. It was the servicing of the addiction. The more demand there was for her drugs, the more that she would have to supply it, and the more profits and the more revenue she would reap.
Miami had like the best quality cocaine. You had lawyers, accountants, cops, everybody was onto cocaine. Everyone.
Griselda Blanco is quickly amassing a breathtaking fortune.
There
How
are
much?
estimates anywhere that she was making $10 to $80 million a month.
80 million a month? $80 million a month, huh? What is $80 million times 12?
The answer is 960 million.
She's making almost $1 billion a year back in the 70s, late 70s. Let's just say 76, 77. So she was almost making $1 billion a year. 960.
This was a massive.
There you go. 960 per year. Maybe I should let the doc play. So 960 million a year living in Miami. We talk about the cost of living now. Man, you could get you a mansion back in the day for like 100,000. You know what I mean? In the 70s, you can get you a little mini mansion for 250. You get you something nice. You can, man, you might own half of Miami with $1 million back in the day. But almost $1 billion a year? Damn.
Organization.
Her innovations were working. Her routes were running like clockwork. She's worth $500 million at this point.
And Griselda's not afraid to flaunt it. She buys a mansion in Miami and a penthouse overlooking Central Park in Manhattan. And she's constantly jet-setting between the two.
My mother was always at Studio 54. She would have parties in her penthouse.
This is where the legend of Griselda Blanco really starts to grow. She's known for lavish parties and wild spending and a huge nightlife. She begins using cocaine herself, and that leads to all kinds of nefarious and sinister party antics. Anything from potentially executing strippers who were on hand as entertainment to wild orgies. It was a time and a place where if you could imagine it, it either did happen at these parties or it certainly was in the realm of possibility.
As Griselda's reputation grows, so does her associates' desire to be near her, including an ambitious young criminal whom she takes under her wing, Pablo Escobar.
Pablo Escobar also began from humble background. Again, a child of poverty, violence, looking to escape.
Pablo was still coming up. He was still a car thief and a grave robber. Pablo meets my mother and she said, when you got a couple dollars saved up, you come talk to me. That the future is cocaine. You couldn't just get into the drug game. You had to ask Griselda to get into the drug game.
She becomes his mentor. He becomes her protege. She brings him into the cocaine business and he starts to learn everything. And it quickly becomes apparent that he's a natural of the business.
So basically my mother made him his first millions.
Griselda has no idea her student will soon become her biggest rival.
The machismo was big in Pablo. He wanted to rule. He decided that he didn't want to be under this woman. He didn't want to work for her. He wanted everyone to work for him.
Pablo came from the second guard, grew up around my mother and these people. Pero la vieja guardia was my mother's guard, the old guard.
In 1976, Escobar teams up with several other drug traffickers to create one of the most powerful drug organizations in history, the Medellin cartel.
Where's Blackie at? They ain't got Blackie on here. Now we talking. Now we about to get into some action here, man. That boy Pablo was crazy. Yeah, he was the understudy. But boy, when I tell you, same thing happened with Pablo as most of these people. Same thing we seen with James St. Patrick. Niggas start trying to do too much. You shouldn't be in any politics. You should just be having your money and chilling. But when you start doing all this extra shit, like Pablo was blowing up planes. Pablo was doing some wild shit. All of them were, man. They just start doing too much, man. That power go to their head. And it's like, hey, y'all got to chill a little bit.
But for the moment, Griselda has more pressing concerns. Within a few years of killing her
They got this 80 styles Monte Carlo. This is supposed to be the 70s.
second husband, Alberto Bravo, Griselda takes a new lover, another drug dealer named Dario Sepulveda.
The relationship between Dario and Griselda was very different than the one she previously had with Alberto. Griselda had all the power, and Dario knew that going in. So he was not going to be the boss in this relationship. Griselda was, and that's just the way Griselda wanted it.
Griselda soon becomes pregnant and gives birth to her fourth son on August 5th, 1978.
She's obsessed with the Godfather movies, and so she names her fourth son
Corleone.
after one of the sons in the movies, Michael Corleone.
My mom had me at the clinic and then rented the top floor at the most popular hotel for like a month. So they say I was born in a golden crib, una cuna de oro, and I literally was. The maids would bathe me with milk, and I was like, wow, she must have really loved me. It's a lot of milk.
Washing the baby with milk, Michael Corleone, man. He grew up different than me. I used to get my baths in the kitchen sink as a child. You know what I'm saying? As an infant. He was getting milk baths. His mom was bringing in the Billy. Man.
It's not until Michael is 6 years old that a cousin explains the significance of his name.
And he's like, it's a mafia family. Like the Italians on the movie and the Godfather. Why do you think your name is Corleone? You're the son of the Godmother of Cocaine. You're the son of the lady who invented the cocaine game as we know it.
While Griselda bonds with her new son, a new threat emerges. The Medellin cartel, led by Escobar, is quickly growing in size and strength, thanks in part to payoffs to Colombian government officials.
Pablo's star has seriously risen, and now he and Griselda are not only rivals, but some people would say that Pablo had eclipsed Griselda.
She realizes that she's lost a little bit of ground, that everybody's saying Pablo Escobar, Pablo, 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 and all of a sudden she realizes she's going to have to step it up to regain her turf.
My mother said I would never bow down to anybody because I invented this.
Damn. Told you, Pablo had that influence. Pablo had Colombia in his pocket. Yeah, he did eventually try to run for, was it president? Or I think it was like the mayor of his town or something. It may have been president, yeah. But yeah, I mean, the whole city was behind him, well, the whole country, because Pablo was giving back. Yeah, it was drug money. But he looked at it, it was money from the gringos. He was building schools, but really this was just paying for their silence. So that's why the officials, they would accept that money because you don't want to get hurt by Pablo. Pablo's bringing in more money. And once he took over Colombia, he was basically squeezing everything that Griselda had because now everyone's starting to work with Pablo. So it's like, damn, he done collected up everybody. And it's really her out there. So what we're about to see now is her to start getting deadly. And this is where we get the cocaine cowboys and all that wild shit that was going on in the 70s and 80s. It's about to go down because she's trying to say, hey, Miami is still mine. Pablo, you still behind me. So she's stepping it up and letting everybody know you need to fear me.
By 1979, the violent crime rate has really been going up in Miami. And in July, it hits a true turning point.
The shootout occurred at about 2:30 this afternoon when two or more Latin males entered the Crown Liquor Store here on the west end of the Dadeland Mall. They were followed by 2 or 3 other Latin males, and then the shooting began.
Right now, 2 people are dead, and there are others injured.
Police suspect the carnage is the result of Griselda's henchmen settling a debt with a rival.
They calmly walk in. They shoot them numerous times in the back, and they calmly walk out until they decide that they want to make a little bit more of a point, and they unload 86 more bullets, and it's just a war zone.
Dog, they went inside, shot them up, walked outside, turned around, and just let off more shots. They just said, fuck it. See, I thought all the shots, whenever I heard the story, I just thought all the shots was just during the shootout. I didn't know they went in there and killed them. You know what I'm saying? I thought they went in there and killed them and just all the shots just happened like that. I didn't know they went in there, killed them, walked out, and just got to shooting in the parking lot. Damn.
The assailants sprayed gunfire all around the parking lot. shell fragments were found some 40 yards from the store. The suspects were apparently still at large.
It was incredible. We knew we had a serious problem in our hands.
The turning point was the Dadeland Massacre in 1979. Before that, you had a certain amount of violence perpetrated by Colombians, perpetrated by Cubans. But when Dadeland took place, that changed the whole dynamic. Griselda didn't care where you were. If she felt that somebody was going to do her in, she'd have them whacked.
The fallout from the Dadeland shooting is the actual war that begins and that marks Miami for several years after that. The culture
crazy.
of violence has just exploded on the scene, and it would stay that way for a very long time.
Griselda goes after anyone she feels has wronged her.
Griselda's henchmen were ruthless. They would decapitate people. They would cut people up into little pieces. They would leave people in cardboard boxes on the side of the road. Violence is what she wanted, and violence is what she got.
There's an expectation that women will not be as successful in more male-dominated industries. What she really did was she took the bull by the horns and really embraced it. She knew that she could operate in a male-dominated world, and she saw it almost as a personal vendetta to not only exceed them, but also be able to enact her own level of justice within this macho industry.
She was brilliant when it came to bringing the drugs into the United States, devising the methodology, but she was horrible in dealing with customers and paying suppliers. And
Damn, so she wasn't paying the suppliers? They didn't tell me that part. They didn't tell me she was killing customers. Well, I knew she was killing customers, you know, saying the customer is not right. When it comes to Griselda, the customer is not right. But they said she wasn't paying the suppliers, so she probably wouldn't pay them and then kill them. Damn, Griselda, what was you doing?
this is when she began to employ the violence that she was known for.
The crimes became more sensational.
Never mind. They were saying the people ain't paying the suppliers, so she gets rid of them. All right, bet. I was about to say, I know Griselda was paying the suppliers. You know, she was the supplier.
The violence they brought, the gunpowder, the firepower that they brought, it was something we had not seen before.
When I was growing up in Miami in the 1980s, I mean, it was pretty fierce. Miami was basically like the capital of cocaine. All the cocaine from Colombia and South America was coming through Miami.
The violent crime rate has gone through the roof. It's now one of the most violent cities, not just the country, but in the world.
These guys did not respect anyone. They didn't respect bystanders. They didn't respect family. They didn't respect kids. They didn't respect anyone. I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter at the time all this is going on. So my concern was for the safety of my family. I was worried.
There were so many drug-related murders in Miami that the coroner had to rent refrigerated trucks just to store the bodies.
That's ridiculous.
My mother made the statement to the other cartels, and she said, gentlemen, in Miami, I do not bow down. I make the rules here, meaning that no drug trafficking of heavy weight could be done without my permission in this city. And she became the queen of Miami.
The Queen's chaos and carnage leads Time magazine to publish this cover story in 1981.
It was becoming a disaster because it was really negatively impacting the tourist trade. People didn't want to go down there.
When that came out.
Hey, would y'all go down to Miami? Let's say it's 1981. No, 1980. It's June 1980. You've been working your job for a while. You done saved us some money. You heading down to Miami. This is the 80s. You ain't never been to Miami. You already had this trip booked. You know what I'm saying? For the last 2 years, you booked this. You've been paying this motherfucker off. You going down there on TWA? Is everything paid for? You going to Miami in 1980, or you just chilling? You just chilling. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't going, man. I ain't going. Why you say they doing one done? I mean, I don't even do coke, man. But I don't want nothing to do with a Coca-Cola. I don't want nothing. I don't know nobody. I don't even speak no Spanish. Somebody come up to me and say something. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. Now, hell no, I'm canceling that. Damn, Miami was a damn war zone. We ain't even know it.
Politicians freaked out, and they called for something had to be done.
Law enforcement creates a task force comprised of Miami-Dade homicide detectives, the DEA, and other agencies.
DEA.
It's called the Central Tactical Program, or CENTAC 26.
I had recommended that whoever was placed in charge of the unit would have to be Latin, would have to have experience in narcotics, in counterterrorism, and homicide. Well, the only one in the department was me. So I got the assignment.
Hey, Lieutenant Diaz, he talking about I recommended somebody had to be the leader. They had to be Latin and know some things about it. Man, you the only one there. Okay, Diaz, you finessed the system. I give you credit for that. All right, that was a good one. Recommend yourself. I got you. Oh, shit. My case just showed up. Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Diaz quickly recognizes the police are not only outmanned, they're also outgunned.
There were a lot of paramilitary people in Colombia involved in the drug traffic, and those people had AK-47s and 16s, they had 15s, they had everything, okay? At that time, Miami-Dade police homicide detectives were only allowed to carry 6-shot, 38.
Oh, man, Miami-Dade wasn't stopping nothing. They came up here with choppers. These niggas had the 6-shot. That's all that they were authorized to carry. Oh, man. I know y'all don't mess with the police, but you gotta cut the police some slack. What the fuck could they do with these guns? Man, these dudes are pulling up on motorcycles. Man, I got 6 shots, and I gotta make it happen. Now, 6 shots for me is probably like, realistically, probably like 42 bodies. But the average person, 6 shots maybe one to connect. But yeah, they didn't have no choice but to let them run rampant down here. What were they gonna do with these? You ain't stopping nothing. All you gotta do is zigzag with these. They can't hit you.
357 revolvers. So the fight was in their favor.
Diaz makes a request for better weaponry to the top brass.
Major, we're gonna need for you to approve our guys to carry semi-automatics. And he was a former Marine, and he raised his hand, he slapped it on the table, and said, "Horse shit. We're gonna go for fully automatic."
Damn.
And so we got machine guns.
Just when
the former Marine said, "Yeah, fuck all that. Let's get some fully automatics." Now you see the police, they walking in here with their guns up like they cool as shit. Now they weak as hell.
it seems the cops can't beat back the cocaine scourge plaguing their city, they get a major tip. Griselda Blanco, the Colombian queenpin, has returned to U.S. soil to lead her operations. But unless they can find her, they have no way to stop her.
Let's play snake oil.
Crazy products.
The casket that you can build yourself.
Can you figure out which are real and which are fake?
It is a suitcase with a head on it.
David Spade hosts Snake Oil, series.
In 1982, cocaine usage in the United States reaches its pinnacle with 10.4 million users. But hand in hand with the euphoria comes the chaos.
Who went out there and counted?
Beleaguered South Florida law enforcers say the Colombian assassins don't seem to care if there are innocent victims, as they bring to Miami a type of violence it has never seen before.
I mean, we're just flat out losing.
They're getting better at it.
Dade County's losing, Miami's losing.
But there is one silver lining. The city's economy is booming.
In the 1980s, Miami was flush with cocaine money. At the height of her operations, Griselda Blanco was moving tons of cocaine. So she was very, 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 very wealthy.
I
hate to say this, but I feel like this is where trickle-down economics actually worked, because there was so much, an influx of so much money. People are partying, people are spending like crazy.
Money was rolling.
Crazy how drugs, the economy, it gets to booming. Ain't that something? All that money down there, and that's how Miami became the Miami of today. Because all this money was flooded down there, and they just had a lot of money. You know, there's a lot of corruption down there. All the money seized didn't make it back to the evidence room, should I say? You know what I mean?
Were high-end clubs that were packed every night. They ran out of Rolexes in Miami during a recession in the rest of the country. It was wild, crazy, violent days.
Everybody had Rolexes in the 80s. That's how much money.
The most frightening part of the cocaine dilemma that we have as it's coming through the South, to me, is the amount of that illegal money, those billions of dollars in profits that are being channeled into part of the cocaine.
There y'all boy, El Presidente. He on the task force. So Joe Biden, he's the chairman of the task force on crime. Joe Biden got rid of Griselda. Don't tell me that Sleepy Joe was out here putting in work like that. Not the chairman of the task force. Is the president of the United States now. President Biden was back. Hey man, he got Griselda up out of Miami.
Dilemma that we have as it's coming through the South, to me, is the amount of that illegal money, those billions of dollars in profits that are being channeled into legitimate businesses.
One key complicating factor that Griselda Blanco had to grapple with was her profits. She had to actually find a way to wash the money through things like casinos, real estate, actual products. Her exotic lingerie business was an example.
Then you had all these bankers and real estate people more than willing to help them.
Clubs were being opened. Money was being spent like crazy. Money was rolling on the street. If you went to buy a car, you were lucky if you got it below manufacturer's suggested retail price, because these dope dealers would go in there with a bag full of cash. There was no money laundering statute then. They would go in with a bag full of cash and buy it at whatever price.
They were trying to get rid of their money so fast, it didn't matter what the car cost. They would just buy it. Say the car's $30,000. They would give them 50 piece and just give the cars. They had to get rid of the money. They had to clean up the money. And you know, shit. Now you trying to go buy a car. Let me go buy me a car. I got me a nice little budget. $15,000. La-di-di-la-di-da. Now a car that's supposed to be around $12,000 is fucking $40,000 because the motherfucking dope dealer's gonna come in there and drop a bag. So they just up the price because they know it's gonna get sold. Like, damn, man, I was gonna get that car too. Fucking drug dealers.
Over 2,700 miles to the west, California is in the midst of its own cocaine boom. Only it's not powder. It's crack, and it's taking over LA.
When cocaine hit the scene in the 80s, it can be used in two distinct forms as an accessory for upper classes. But on the flip side, the street level drug was crack, and crack could be used very cheaply. It could be bought for as cheap as $5. And so you have an entire different class of people who are buying crack. And so it's highly desirable.
And an industrious dealer is cashing in on the crack.
Uh-oh.
When I was in high school, I met
Lulu.
a man named Dad.
Auntie Louie.
Selling marijuana, and then I would take dime bags and 20 bags to school and sell to my friends at school. And I was excited about making the money. And then once I graduated, the demand for cocaine in the Black community took off. It's a big difference selling a pound of marijuana to a pound of cocaine.
Facts.
It's like you quadruple your money. That's when we went to selling crack cocaine. And I was one of the very few women that were selling it in the early 80s in the Los Angeles area.
Jamaica really was a badass businesswoman. She very quickly rose through the ranks and became the queen of crack. She not only dominated California, but she also spread it through the states. She was able to really distribute on a large scale and get that power.
At the height of her reign, Jamaica is making millions and far outperforming her male competitors.
It was just like a high that I got. The more money I made, the more I wanted to make. The hustle and drive came because I wanted more. I wanted a better life. It just seemed like it was never enough. I was a woman's Scarface and a woman Godfather. I never thought of myself as being a drug dealer. I thought of myself as being a businesswoman. I don't feel that being a woman in a world of men selling drugs, that the men treated me differently. Actually, they treated me as one of them because they had a lot of respect for me.
She was putting in that
Because I
work
was
back in
selling
the day,
drugs
though. I watched
on the
her
level
story.
that they were selling drugs, and they knew it.
While the queen of crack rules LA, back in Miami, the queen of cocaine's business also continues its dizzying ascent. But her personal life is crashing.
The relationship between Griselda and her third husband, Dario Sepulveda, falls apart when she learns that Dario's been cheating on her and sleeping with a topless dancer.
At the time, my father still lived with my mother and had a girlfriend here, a beautiful blonde woman, blue eyes, beautiful. She looked like an actress. And I remember it was weird because my mother and my father started to fight.
She's furious. Disloyalty is not something that will stand with her. So divorce is inevitable.
She wants custody of her son, Michael, of course. But Dario also wants custody. Dario believes that Michael should stay in school. Griselda wants Michael to stay with her, and that accelerates the fallout between them.
Then in 1983, the couple's fight over the 5-year-old son reaches a breaking point.
I'm living with my mother, and that's when my father, one day he comes to pick me up. And I guess he told my mother, yeah, I'm gonna take him shopping, bring him back tomorrow morning. But he picked me up, went to his house. He grabbed his suitcase, jumped on a plane to Bogota, Colombia, basically kidnapped me. Took me from my mother without her parental consent. My father loved me so much. I was like, his little prince, his nana, he loved me.
Dario's counting on his network of friends in Colombia to protect him from his audacious move.
No, he should obviously know his wife well enough at this point that that's not how this story is going to end.
When Griselda learns what Dario's done, she is furious. She sends her henchmen to Colombia to find her thieving husband.
Damn.
After scouring the city, they locate the pair. Griselda's goons, posing as policemen, pull over Dario's car. They're not here to negotiate.
Damn, got that money, Carl. It's
To
like
my
83,
right, I
84.
see the bodyguard, and then my father telling me, Maikito, deme el fierro, deme el fierro. And then I just heard that fucking storm, Uzis, 38s.
Damn. And took Dario out.
I look at my dad and my puppy had just holes with blood oozing out of them.
Damn.
His
Man,
nice
that's something
suit,
to
the
see.
back of it was just riddled. He got hit 27 times. In my mind, they're gonna kill me too. I mean, that's the law in Colombia. You kill a godfather, you kill his son.
But as Michael prepares for the end, a divine intervention. Nuns and school children from a nearby Catholic school race over to protect the 5-year-old boy.
Just remember the schoolgirls jumping on me and the nuns. And they told the killers, no, he is a baby. And they all made like a human chain. No, you will not take him. And they ran away as the cops came, the real cops.
Then that Monte Carlo clean as hell, though.
Michael is flown back to the United States and reunited with his mother.
And that's fucked up.
I later on was told by many of people that, that it could have been my mother who ordered the hit on my father for kidnapping me. I asked her, did you do it? And if you did, I'll still forgive you. I just want to know. She told me, nah, I didn't kill your father. I loved your father.
Regardless, Dario's murder earns the Coke Queen a new nickname.
She's now known as the Black Widow, but she doesn't really think this one through because Dario's brother is one of Griselda's hitmen. So naturally, he's been trained to kill. He's going to come after her.
In addition to Dario's brother, there are lots of other people in the operation who are loyal to Dario. And so now there's even more internal strife in the group.
Many members of Griselda's once loyal crew begin to defect. They realize that no one who works for the queenpin is safe from her wrath.
She becomes more paranoid and more erratic, and the body count is rising in Miami. She's running out of friends. She's running out of loyalists. So she decides to take her operation out west, try to set up a whole new shop in California, specifically in Los Angeles. So hopefully the goal is to dominate the entire West Coast.
Pivoting is critical in business because the only certainty is that things are going to change. And the best leaders recognize that, and they make sure that that's part of their thinking. They make sure that that's part of their cognition all the time.
It's a bold move. Griselda knows she now needs new lieutenants to help run her West Coast operation. So she appoints the only people she can trust, her three oldest sons, Dixon, Uber, and Osvaldo.
By that time, her three sons, they're in their early 20s. They were Americanized. So they spoke English. They had American friends. And they were able to develop their own customer base.
My mother's like, all right, come here, guys. Takes them under her wing. I guess that's why they call my mother the Ma Baker of the drug cartel. Just like Ma Baker, you know, she was close to her boys. That's what my brothers were trained to do. Since they were children, they were trained to be fucking capos, you know, drug lords. And that's what they did, and they did it well.
They each took different roles. What they did was kind of divide and conquer. So they worked different regions.
Dixon runs San Francisco. Hubert has taken over operations in Los Angeles. And Osvaldo has taken over operations in Miami. So they're really like the three-headed monster in this thing.
My mother starts handing the business over to the three brothers. Them boys were monsters. You know, them boys went from selling 10, 20 kilos to 200, 300 a week.
She didn't deal with customers. Her sons dealt with the customers, and she trusted her sons. So as far as the distribution was concerned, they were the go-to people.
Man, she was out there making a network, wasn't she?
The move west enables Griselda to flood an entirely new market with her product. There's only one problem: getting enough of it.
She needs a new supply chain.
But most of her suppliers, trusted suppliers in Miami, won't ship all the way to California. So she's got to find a new supplier.
So Griselda makes a deal with the devil. She gets Marta Ochoa Saldarriaga, a relative of the co-founders of the Medellin cartel with Pablo Escobar, to sell her $1.8 million worth of coke. But then Griselda gets greedy.
Marta delivers on her end of the deal, delivers the drugs, but instead of Griselda paying her, she orders Marta killed. If Marta's dead, Marta can't say anything about the deal gone wrong, and Griselda doesn't have to pay the money, and she gets the drugs.
She puts her best hitman on the case.
Griselda failed to recognize that this person should have been off limits, that there was going to be consequences for this. But that was Griselda's way. And this would definitely be one of those mistakes that she would live to regret.
The fallout is swift.
When the rest of the Medellin cartel find out that Griselda ordered the murder of Marta Ochoa, they put a $4 million bounty on Griselda's head. So now she's on the run from the DEA.
4 milli? Damn, Pablo and them wasn't playing around. Remember, what did she think she was doing? Man, she should just came off that 1.8 million. That plan didn't even sound like it was good. Damn. She would have been in the game a little longer. She could have took over. That 1.8, paid that off, been good to go. She ordered a hit, and everybody know about it. Damn, that's fucked up. $4 million, man, they weren't playing around.
And the Medellin cartel.
In 1984 alone, Griselda survives 6 assassination attempts. She must now sleep with one eye open.
She's hiding from the DEA. She's hiding from the Medellin cartel. She moves around from safe house to try to maintain this phantom-like status.
She doesn't want to be alone. And so she was actually paying people to sleep in her bed with her at night because she was so afraid that something bad was going to happen to her.
It's very ironic because she's a very brilliant business mind, but in the case of killing her husband and now Marta Ochoa, she doesn't predict the blowback of these murders. She knows what the Medellin cartel is capable of. It's almost like she just thinks she's invincible.
But it's not just Griselda's enemies who are closing in. The DEA is also tightening the noose.
An individual walks into our office and says he wants to cooperate.
On Credible.com, you could get actual pre-qualified student loan refinance rate.
It was a wild time, man. It was a wild time back in the day. They had a brother in San Francisco, LA, and Miami. They trying to get that work in and they trying to get that work out. You know what I mean? But Griselda put together a play. They said $1.8 million. All you had to do is pay it. They were getting money. They were getting money. Hey, putting too many hits on people. Sometimes you gotta chill. Everybody, we don't need everybody. You know? We don't need nobody. Yeah. But make sure look at your decision. Pablo's still at his range right now. Pablo's still alive and kicking. He ain't even made it to the United States yet with the wife. Pablo was doing some wild shit too. Griselda, you gotta move around. But the way she's moving around from safe house to safe house is usually how it happens for all of these drug dealers from the Latin America. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it is. Pablo was doing the same thing. El Chapo was hopping around. All of them do it. Like, damn. And it makes you think, damn, all that money, that shit sounded good, making $1 billion a year. Man, look at the shit you gotta go through. Fucked up. Fucked up. Hell. Damn. They on her ass, but they said she survived 6 assassination attempts. Talk about Mo. Get a gun and I give you 10,000 to stay in the bed tonight. Mo might be coming up on $10,000. I'll be sitting there with that totally alert too. I'm scared as hell too. 6 assassination attempts, man. I'm awake, like I'm looking around. I got you. Hey, what was that noise? You nervous as hell in there, man. Yeah, 6. Hey, hell no. Security seems like it's too tough. Also, I do it for 10 bands. I ain't gonna lie. 10 bands back then, probably like 25.
By 1984, Griselda Blanco has moved her cocaine operation and her family from Miami west to the Golden State.
She scurried to California to avoid being killed herself by other people involved in the business.
But even on a new coast, she still remains a ghost.
My mother was still a fugitive. When we moved to California, we had a house in Anaheim, a house in Orange County, my brother's house is in Beverly Hills, the ranch in Calabasas, and the houses in the Bay Area. So I spent my time up and down the state of California. At that age, I was very angry with the fact that I didn't go to school like normal kids, couldn't ride my bike around the neighborhood, and if my friends wanted to play with me, they'd have to come to my toy room at the house. You know, I couldn't go to nobody's house. I was kidnappable. You get it? If you let me out your eyesight, yeah, I was $1 million walking.
The DEA knows if they can't find Griselda, they'll never end her reign
Man, I
of terror.
fucked up living like that as a kid.
The
man.
focus on Griselda Blanco in California illustrates the significant challenges to investigating a person who operates like Blanco did. She was relying upon her sons to conduct a lot of her business and did not communicate with anyone else.
Just when it seems as if all is lost, the feds shift their attention from the mother to her sons, launching a new operation codenamed Los Niños.
Los Niños.
Operation Los Niños is designed to infiltrate Griselda's organization through her three sons, Dixon, Hubert, and Osvaldo.
To do so, they'll need a mole, someone who can get close to Griselda's boys.
Uh-oh. Who is it?
Then, out of
Eric.
the blue, in 1984, they get a break.
An individual walks into our office and says he wants to cooperate, that he knows he's got good information, identifies himself as Gerardo Gomez,
No,
very
Gerardo. I thought it
articulate,
was Eric.
Americanized Colombian.
Gomez informs the feds he knows Griselda Blanco from his days running an automotive garage in Medellin.
What else can you tell us? He said, my cousin is going out with one of her sons in San Jose, California.
Agents can't.
Damn, they was out in San Jose, man. They were down the streets from where I live. You know what I mean? Damn, I was just 30 years too late. I was 30 years too late, man. I could have been hanging out with one of them and I ain't even know it.
Believe their good luck. They convince Gomez to fly to San Jose and meet with his cousin and her boyfriend, Dixon Blanco Trujillo, Griselda's eldest son.
He meets with her and Dixon Trujillo at the Holiday Inn in San Jose. And Dixon lays it all out, lays out the organization. He's doing hundreds of kilos in San Francisco. Uber is doing hundreds of kilos in Los Angeles. And Osvaldo is still handling the Miami customer base.
Gomez offers to help the family
nigga
where
told
they
all of
need
this
it
to
most,
the cousin?
laundering the drug proceeds.
His come on was, I'm a businessman. I have a business in Colombia. I can launder your drug profits through my various businesses. It seems to have made sense to the sons, and they bought into it.
They take the bait. They give him some money. He flies back to Miami, picks up some money from another individual there, and he facilitates to transfer the money to a bank in Panama.
Impressed with a trial laundering run, the Queenpin sons convince her to meet with Gomez at the Newport Beach Marriott. She has no idea she's walking right into a trap, and that the launderer she's meeting is actually a federal informant.
And he basically put his life in our hands. If Griselda was to ever find out that Jerry was working with the government, she'd pick up the phone and call one of her trusted shooters.
It was a huge risk because she was a sociopath.
Griselda also has no idea DEA agent Bob Palombo is there watching her every move.
She comes in with a bodyguard. My partner and I are sitting in the lobby. She walks right by us. We don't recognize her at all at first. She looked like an American with a blonde wig. And then she walked by again, and I kind of looked over. She had two unusual characteristics, a cleft and dimples on her cheeks.
The telltale traits are a dead giveaway. The agents have their gal.
My partner and I looked at each other. We had to restrain ourselves from high-fiving.
It wasn't that high.
Now they just need the drug lordess to take the bait.
Griselda goes up to our informant's room with this other individual who's carrying a big leather satchel, heavy.
Behind closed doors, Gomez convinces Griselda to let him launder $500,000 as a test run. She agrees and leaves the cash behind.
You had informant testimony, tapes to corroborate the testimony, physical evidence in the form of money. You couldn't ask for anything more except for dope on the table.
While the feds want to arrest Griselda on the spot, they hold back, knowing it will blow their informant Jerry's cover before he can fully integrate himself in her operation. So they let the drug lordess walk. It's a decision they'll come to regret when Griselda once again disappears.
Griselda for 10 years was a fugitive. Her whereabouts were unknown. I mean, even after we had made contact with her through Jerry, the informant, her whereabouts were still difficult to determine.
We know that she was in Newport Beach to meet us at the hotel, but we didn't know where she lived.
But the agents refused to give up. Believing the queen of cocaine's still in California, they spend the next year hunting her. Just when the feds fear the drug lordess has once again slipped their net, they get another break.
We had a couple of leads. One of the informant that came in and told our agent about Uber going out with her daughter. So that was tremendous intelligence for our case.
The feds used that intel to ultimately track down Griselda living in this townhouse in Irvine, California.
Townhouse.
It was a Sunday morning on February the 17th, 1985. We were stationed across the street. A little boy emerges, Michael, the youngest son. A moment later, a housemaid takes the child and goes down to a local park.
Went to the park to play toy guns.
It's the break the agents need.
My partner and a couple of guys went through the front door.
The kid left and the rest of the mom.
The rest of the surveillance guys went through the back door. We did a security sweep downstairs, making sure that there was nobody in there. And then my partner and I raced up the stairs to a master bedroom.
They throw open the door and are met with a shock.
Griselda in bed, reading the Bible. Showed her my credentials. I said, "Hola, Griselda." And she said, "No, me llamo Betty." I said, no, I don't think so.
Agent Palumbo then approaches the godmother of coke, the Black Widow, the woman he has chased for a decade from one end of the country to the other, and makes a bold move. He leans over and kisses her gently on both cheeks.
Hey man, what the hell?
She was causing such frustration to myself and the guys in the group. So one day I just blurted out, I said, if I ever put the cuffs on her, she's getting the kiss of death. The old Italian kiss of death. It was kind of fitting at the time, so I decided, what the heck? I'll take a shot.
All the commotion catches young Michael's attention down at the park.
I look, I see a helicopter hovering above my neighborhood.
The 6-year-old races home only to discover a chaotic scene.
I see the circus of agents and regular police, and they're just everywhere. You know, walking in through the house, them destroying the walls, pouring out all the food and the cereal, hitting the fucking kitchen. And I can't pour a bowl of cereal without remembering the day my mother was arrested. Made my way up the stairs to my mother's main room. Bob Palomo and all the agents are there. Remember my mother telling me, Maikito, come here to hug me. And she's like, I don't know what these gentlemen are saying. They're saying I'm some lady, but I don't know who that is. And then my mother told me, Maikito, go with them. And I'm like, I'm going nowhere. So we leave together. Come on. She's like, no, I'll see you later, baby. Boom. They ushered me off to an orphanage, LA County orphanage, and they took my mother in federal detention.
After 10 long years of hunting their prey, the feds finally have Griselda Blanco in custody. But will prosecutors have enough evidence to keep her behind bars?
It's time to play Name That Tune.
Tuesdays, big names.
Say he can't even pour a bowl of cereal, man. Damn, that's kind of messed up, dog. They put that little boy through a lot of stuff, man. Seen his dad pop, got saved by some millions. See his mom get arrested. Damn, he went through a lot of shit, man. All he wanted to do was, you know what I'm saying, just ride his bike around the neighborhood, be a regular kid sometimes. He get a chance to be a kid. The other brothers over here spilling the game, the cousin, the girlfriend. Yeah, you can learn some money. All starting to crumble. They didn't got the godmother, so you know everybody else is about to go there. Sheesh. Hit that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button to the channel. The Queen of Cocaine, Griselda Blanco. And that kiss of death is illegal, bro. The kiss of death move is illegal. You can't just kiss the suspect. That was the 80s, and in times of
After arresting Griselda Blanco in California, the DEA sends the Queen of Cocaine to New York to face trial for the original Operation Banshee indictment issued 10 years earlier.
Operation Banshee was created to focus on the increasing levels of violence and growing sophistication among drug traffickers from Colombia at that time. We were concerned about not only Griselda Blanco's drug trafficking activities, but about the violence that she had perpetrated in New York City, in Florida, and elsewhere.
The feds also issue a second indictment against Griselda and her 3 top lieutenants, her older sons, Uber, Dixon, and Osvaldo. But her youngest boy, Michael, remains out of the legal fray.
I went to visit my mother in the Federal Correctional Building in New York City while she was awaiting trial. And I'm like, Ma, how long you think you're gonna be here? She's like, I don't know, Mike, it's not gonna be too long. Don't worry, we got this covered. That day I understood that my mother was Griselda Blanco, the godmother of the Medellin and Miami, the first godmother of the cartel.
Damn.
On June 25th, 1985,
Crazy.
Griselda goes on trial in the Southern U.S. District Court in New York City. She's charged with multiple counts for her involvement in the original drug trafficking operation she ran with her second husband, Alberto Bravo.
The defense's strategy for this trial is to bring Griselda in and have her look like a timid housewife. She's got her rosary, she's got her Bible, but the prosecution has an eyewitness that was a former drug smuggler of Griselda's named Carbon Caban.
Carmen Caban was a key witness. She was the paramour of the right-hand man for Griselda. And he was responsible for the cocaine trafficking that Alberto Bravo and Griselda Blanco were conducting in the city.
On July 9th, 1985, the jury finds Griselda Blanco guilty. But they only sentence the international narco trafficker to 15 years in federal prison.
It was heart-wrenching. Here we are in the final inning. 3 strikes. Or 2 strikes. 3 balls. Boom. Popped out.
And the feds aren't finished dismantling Griselda's operation.
Whatever
They soon round up and arrest Griselda's top lieutenants. Her oldest sons, Uber, Dixon, and Osvaldo.
So we had the whole organization, basically, all in cuffs and ready to stand trial.
The boys plead guilty to conspiracy to distribute cocaine, and each receive 12 years in prison. On top of the 15 years from her New York trial, Griselda gets another 10 years for her Florida crimes.
Hey, yo.
But in an unexpected ruling, the queenpin is allowed to serve her terms concurrently.
Oh, good.
1985, my mother gets incarcerated. My brother's
All the time
incarcerated
count as
right
the same.
before 1986. The Colombian family becomes my legal guardians. Whether I liked it or not, I had to grab my balls and grow up, and I did.
But Michael's isn't the only life that changes dramatically. His mother must face her own new reality inside the federal women's prison outside San Francisco. It's behind these walls the drug lordess meets another queenpin to help show her the way, Jamaica Thompson, the former queen of crack.
The funny thing about Griselda and myself, We never would talk about our life outside of prison. I really liked Griselda. We had a great friendship. And Griselda wasn't friends with everybody in prison. But for some reason, we had that connection. But I think because we lived a certain lifestyle on the street, our friendship connected without even knowing. She was a lot like me. She was a boss in her own right, you know, and I was a boss in mine. She was well respected. She had a hustle and she had a drive, and she was going to get it one way or another.
The Griselda Blanco that Jamaica comes to know is far different than the murderous coke queen that terrorized Miami.
She went to church every Sunday. She went to the chapel just about every day. That was her life. Me and her would sit out on the bench and we would talk about just life and God. So that's the side of Griselda that I know. She was very humble, very loving, very caring.
But life behind bars for the godmother of coke, someone who has amassed a fortune estimated at over $1 billion, is different.
She had the favor of all the guards. So she had contraband coming in from left to right. She still lived like a queen in prison. She had someone to do her facial, iron her clothes, clean her room, fix her food. And she was very respectful and loving. And she took care of those people that took care of her in prison.
My mother ate gourmet food. My mother had a kitchen in her cell, or the kitchen would cook for my mother. That lady dressed in Louis Vuitton and Gucci while she was in the feds.
Hey, come on, man. Come on, man. Griselda was in the Louis. Griselda was in the yard in the Louis and Gucci. Come on, man. Griselda was living life, kicked back in the motherfucking feds. Come on. She got, man, what? She got gold on. She out here flexing. She got a real photographer in here. This is 1985, y'all. Look how crisp this picture is. Griselda had only the finest. Only the finest. This shit ain't even out yet. This shit only out in Paris. You know what I'm saying? Over in France. You know what I'm saying? This is only out over there. Griselda got it in the feds, nigga. Damn, I ain't gonna lie. She flexing. Ever since I can remember, I've been popping my collar. Popping my collar. Popping my collar. Yeah, Griselda's in there flexing on him. Look at her. Midday. This is right after going to the chapel, too. You know what I'm saying? Came out there, bless the Lord. Came out right out the chapel. Okay, Griselda was out there with the Louis on. All right. This is a clean-ass picture, no lie, though. Like, look at it. That's a cool-ass picture. That's a profile picture right there for you. You know what I mean? That's like marketing right there. The new Louis. Have her in there like, damn, look at Griselda.
She had a fucking 2-pointer on her finger. She had her 18 karat and 22 karat gold chains, her high heels, Dublin Correctional Facility. My mother was the warden.
Damn.
Despite obtaining convictions against Griselda for drug trafficking, prosecutors remain committed to bringing her to justice for her reign of terror in Miami.
Griselda is responsible for approximately 200 murders, and that's more than Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy combined.
200.
Then in 1993, the feds get a huge break in their case when Griselda's trusted hitman, Jorge Rivi Ayala, pleads guilty to murder.
That's a serious blow to Griselda Blanco. This guy knows literally where all the bodies are buried. He buried lots of them.
They charge Rivi with 3 hits. Staring down a death sentence, the assassin cuts a deal.
What?
Our people from Centac went to talk to him and he flipped.
Dang.
That was like the first hitman that had truly flipped on her.
Rivi, her trusted hitman, he has all the secrets.
On July 28, 1993, state prosecutors in Miami lower the boom on Griselda, charging her with 3 counts of murder.
Griselda Blanco operated a drug ring out of Colombia in the late 1970s. In the early 1980s, smuggling about 34,000 pounds of cocaine each month into South Florida and New York. Cocaine Godmother charged with contract killings of 3 in 1982. So the guy that just took the stand, they charged him with 3 hits, the Dayland murder, and then 2 other hits. So he did 3 hits, and then he took a deal and said, listen, I can tell you a few things if you need to know. You need some, you know what I'm saying? If you need some light on some things, I can tell you. So he was a hitman that flipped. So it ain't nothing new. People were doing this. They're saying that this is one of the first hitmen to do it.
Murder.
Griselda knows this is the nail in the coffin. She's never going to see the outside world if Ribby tells all.
What
Desperate
Ribby gonna
to avoid
tell?
a murder conviction, Griselda hatches an audacious plan. Kidnap the Prince of Camelot. Facing the death penalty for 3
Griselda's on another level. She says she's about to do a kidnapping, trying to do what she did back when she was 11. Remember, it started off with the kidnappings and holding them for ransom. They said her first body was at 11. Does this sound eerily familiar?
counts of murder. Griselda Blanco, the queen of cocaine, is desperate to find a way out of prison.
Her elaborate, arguably insane plan to try to keep herself out of another prison sentence is to kidnap John F. Kennedy Jr., the son of former President John F. Kennedy. She wants to send a crew to JFK Jr.'s New York apartment and kidnap him and hold him for ransom and basically trade his freedom for her freedom.
But there's a snag.
The people closest to her who she ordered to kidnap JFK to be part of this plot, they backed off. They realized that this was way too risky. And so the plan was never carried out.
Griselda knows she's at the end of her rope. If convicted, she'll face the electric chair. But in February 1998, as her case approaches trial, it's rocked by a bombshell revelation. The prosecution's star witness, Jorge Rivi Ayala, has been engaging in phone sex with secretaries from the prosecutor's office.
This creates a big problem for the state's attorney's office because now they've got a credibility issue.
It essentially obliterated their case.
The feds must change tact.
The prosecution decides that they're going to offer Griselda a plea because they want to salvage the case. They don't want to lose it completely, and they want to see her punished. And Griselda agrees to a plea.
Griselda pleads to second-degree murder.
Hey, y'all think that was the plan the whole time for Ruiz to say he'll take a deal so he can get his time, and then they actually set it up like that? Oh, don't tell me Griselda was putting together a play the whole time. We thought he was about to take the stand, but in reality, they had it set up where he was messing with one of the secretaries. Oh, man, that's a play right there. So now everything is done. They give her a plea deal. Oh, Griselda put together one, didn't she? That was her trusted hitman. He wasn't really about to take the stand. He had to say what he had to say to get in there to put the plan in effect. Okay, I see what's going on here. The hitman came through. Ain't that right, Mozzie? He came through. Hey, that's a play right there. That's a play right there. That's some crazy shit. That's some movie type shit. That right there is legit. That right there is legit. Yeah, I'll tell you something. Let me get a plea deal. Give me my time off. All right, you gonna give me my time off? All right, bet I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna take the stand. I'm gonna tell y'all everything I need to tell y'all. Then, while all that's going on, Griselda making the moves, you know what I'm saying, introducing slide numbers here, slide number there. He having phone sex with the motherfucking clerks. Now his credibility, like, can we really trust anything that he say up there? Because he fucking with the inside people. That's gonna be the defensive thing. Now you just heard her say we had to salvage the case. They still wanted to get it on the regular charges because if anything, they can start throwing out a lot of shit like nah. So he's like, all right, hold on, wait a minute, wait. We're gonna give you a deal. We're gonna give you a deal. We gotta give you some time though. We're gonna give you a deal. Damn, okay, that was a good play right there. That's a good play. That's a 10. That's a 10 out of a 10 play right there. That's a real life play too. There ain't no movie shit. That's real life.
So with that charge, she gets 3 concurrent 20-year sentences.
But Griselda's actual sentence is revised to reflect the guidelines that were in effect in the 1980s when she committed her crimes. So for ordering 3 cold-blooded murders, Griselda will serve just 7 years in prison.
7 years?
I mean, it was essentially a slap on the wrist for these horrific crimes. Because of this hole in the case, this sex scandal, she essentially was saved of the death penalty.
Dog, she got 7 years. Hey, if that ain't a play, I don't know what a play is. Hey, this right here is top tier. That's how you finesse the system. That's fucking crazy how that all played out. And the defense attorney, that motherfucker knew. He was like, hey, look, we could do this. I know how I can defend that. She said, I can make that happen. Griselda put that money to work and made it happen. Oh, Lord. That's some shit right there. That right there, that deserves a round of applause. That's something I would have thought of if I was writing the movie, not in no real life situation. That's swinging for the fences. But shit, they did that, man. They hit a home run. That's some crazy shit right there when you actually listen to what the hell is going. Like, wait a minute. That's how she got off? Man, that ain't no coincidence. That shit was set up. Oh, damn.
What she got for what she did is really a cakewalk.
Yeah,
in my
that was
view.
no time.
Especially since most of the time she spent in jail wasn't really super hard time.
In June 2004, after serving 20 years behind bars, the now 61-year-old Blanco is released from prison and immediately deported to her native Colombia. Just like her 3 oldest sons and co-conspirators, Dixon, Uber, and Osvaldo, when they were released and deported 6 years earlier.
When Griselda arrives back in Colombia, she's really nobody at this point. She's not running a drug empire.
She arrives in Colombia, and we just start selling off properties in order for her to have her money to be able to live the life she was accustomed to.
Griselda really kept a low profile, probably scared for her life, I would imagine, because a lot of people wanted her dead.
After nearly 40 years of ruling the cocaine world with an iron fist, the queen has outlived most of her competitors, enemies, and lovers. But no one can rule forever. While shopping in Medellin on September 3rd, 2012, karma finally catches up to the queen of coke.
She went to the butcher. She did this every month.
2 guys on a motorcycle stopped, and the guy that was riding on the back got off, walked up to her, and shot her twice at close range in the head.
Damn.
And then the guy got back on the motorcycle and they sped off.
The irony there, of course, is this is the very practice that she perfected, and that was her ultimate demise.
Yeah, they killed my mama, man. You know, I fell to the ground, like, from the pain.
Damn.
There's a certain ironic justice to it. I mean, she went the way that she devised. Maybe you could say she went the way she would have liked to.
I think running a drug empire, you always gonna look over your shoulder, because there's so many people that's so jealous of you, of what you have, that want to be you. She did what she had to do to survive for those 4 boys. It's a price you pay. She paid the price. In prison and death, she paid the price.
We don't know who killed Griselda. She had enemies. We don't know who, but we sure do probably know why.
She made a lot of widows and orphans. That always catches up to you. Always, especially orphans.
I told everybody what was done is done. It's nothing gonna bring my mother back or my brothers back. So I'm gonna honor her wishes to be a changed man, and that's it.
10 years after the Coke Queen's death, the story of her meteoric rise and fall still captures the imagination.
I think people are fascinated with Griselda Blanco's story because it's a very twisted take on the American dream. Here's a woman who reached the top of the mountain in a world dominated by alpha males.
She was a one-woman force of nature. From the very beginning, she didn't take shit from anyone. She did whatever she needed to do to keep moving up in life.
If my mother wouldn't have been the first female drug baron of our time, she probably would have been CEO at a Forbes company. She did something that was never done before. My mother's legacy, yes, it's a legacy of violence, but she was a woman that had to become savage in a world that wasn't made for her. The drug cartel world at the very beginning was only made for men.
But not everyone sees Griselda and her legacy in the same light.
We have this bitch from hell who decides that she wants to be meaner and more powerful than anybody else. And she went out there to terrorize her competitors. Violence, arrogance, greed. That is her legacy.
Damn. Well, there go Griselda Blanco. I seen that link, Torian, but man, that's Netflix. I ain't about to watch that. And not on here with y'all. I'll watch it by myself and come back over here. But now I'm gonna look it up real quick though. But yeah, I seen something about it when I was looking up just looking up shit for this damn documentary. So I didn't know if it was new or if they had already done it before. Netflix. Let me see. Nah, but that was cool, man. Hey, that was the finesse. Yeah, on Netflix, I ain't gonna be able to pay the trailer. 5 days ago. Let me see what they say about it. Griselda, Sofia Varga, Netflix series, release date, trailer, everything we need to know. So this was arrives globally in late January 2020. Man, what y'all showing us the shit now for, man? We gonna forget by January. What is it, September? Man, we gonna forget. News of the show first came about in 2021. Narcos spinoff was in development with the same team. Oh, if it's by the same people that did Narcos, it might be actually pretty straight then. I might have to check that out. Oh, they just wrapped production. That's why. January 2024. Let me see something.
A lot of money together.
All right, let me see. Let me find out. This might actually be straight. Does this look like something we might be interested in watching? Oh, January 25th. Oh, man, we ain't gonna remember this by then.
You've thought about me a lot, haven't you? I heard that you...
Hey, once I seen them bricks drop, I said this might actually be decent. This might actually be, hey, we might have to do this. Hey, Griselda, hey, January 25th. Someone's gonna have to remind me. But yeah, we could do a Griselda. Hey, we need a show like this on the channel. You know what I'm saying? This might be it right here. Oh, but Netflix, man, hey, don't drop it all at once, Netflix. Don't do that to us, man. Drop that motherfucker weekly, bro. Make this shit worthwhile, man. You drop it all in one weekend, ain't nobody gonna remember it. You know what I'm saying? You got to drop these once a week, man. We ain't trying to watch all of them in one day. I'm like, well, what we gonna watch next? You know what I mean? Hey, don't do that. Don't drop it all on one day.
Like my product. We can make a lot of money together.
Oh no. Oh no, this might be some shit, y'all. This might be some shit. We ain't seen nothing yet. We ain't seen nothing yet. But if they going in the direction I'm thinking they gonna go, and it could get crazy over here. This looks like it's well put together. Netflix might have one on their hands here. This is actually looking like something I would want to watch.
Who is the one in charge?
Oh, okay, that's dope. Who's the one who's in charge? I'll let you know who's in charge. Emmy and Golden Globe nominated. That's who's in charge. Emmy and Golden Globe nominated is in charge. She's in charge. This me right here with the afro. You already know me, front row seat. What it is, boss, what's up? What we gotta do? What we gotta do? Okay, I can get into this. This might be something I can really flip when I can tell the story of the story of the story. Respectfully, but it's the story. This might be some shit right here. All right, that ain't bad. That ain't bad. Griselda. Oh, let me see what they talking about. Hey, there we go. The L7 right there. We told you 3 out of 10 are real. Trying to find the other 2. Oh man, they ain't talking about nothing. Yeah, they ain't talking about nothing, man. We trying to see y'all dropping them all on one day. Y'all gonna space these things out. What we gonna do? What we gonna do? Yeah, I mean that was straight. It seemed like it's gonna be good, but like you said, you need more than a little teaser. That wasn't really a trailer. You know what I mean? They should just say it's a teaser. They trying to, it's a trailer. Like, nah, man, ain't no trailer, man. That ain't tell us nothing. We ain't got no trail to follow. We don't know where the fuck we at. We don't know where we at. There ain't no trailer. That was a teaser. Like, look, watch this real quick. I got you. Damn, man. I thought we were gonna see a little bit more than that. Put your hands where my eyes can see. You know what I mean? I thought we was gonna see some more than that. Damn. But it looks straight though. I'm gonna watch it. But y'all gotta remind me, because if not, then hey man, I'm gonna forget. I ain't gonna lie. I was just thinking about that. I said, man, I ain't gonna remember to watch this show. Says it's a grim true story. All right. Well, we just went through the documentary, so we know that. Early next year, inspired by the life of the infamous Colombian businesswoman. Created one of the most profitable cartels, January 2022. Netflix released its first look. Into. Oh, so they were recording this back in 2022. Damn, it's just now dropping 2 years later. So this is January of 2022. So Netflix was holding this one. Oh, okay, Netflix. Let me find out Netflix got a whole arsenal just sitting in the back waiting, just waiting to release. Netflix said, fuck that. We're going to have some shit popping. Netflix hasn't failed with the Narco series, in my opinion. So this being from the same directors and producers, I think this should be pretty decent. So they've been holding on this for 2 years. When they first transformed the tour. In a previously shared press statement, she said the upcoming TG project, Griselda Blanco, was larger than life character with ruthless, indigenous tactics. Allowed her to rule a billion-dollar empire years before many of the most notorious male kingpins we know so much about. We are thrilled to have found the perfect partners, Eric, Andreas, and Netflix, to help us bring this story of her life to the screen. I said, ooh, woo, woo. Why ain't nobody tell me this was dropping? Why am I just now hearing about this? Griselda has been in development for more than 8 years. Damn, according to Netflix. There's no connection to the hit show Narcos, which famously dived into the story of the Colombian drug lord Pablo. In addition to Netflix Griselda Blanco's story, we've explored into other projects like Gangsters. What is that? Hold on. Uh-oh. It looked like Netflix is trying to get in the game, y'all. It looked like Netflix is trying to step up into the game. Looks like Netflix is stepping into the game. It says, in addition to Netflix Griselda Blanco's story, it has been explored in other projects like Gangsters, America's Most Evil, Lifetime's The Cocaine Godmother movie, and yet to be released movie titled The Godmother, in which the drug boss is set to play by Jennifer Lopez. Damn. Hey, Netflix is, hey, they trying to get into the true crime. Oh my goodness. We right on time, y'all. We just created the new channel. Oh, we right on time. And guess what? Since it's a TV show and a movie, we could be on the main channel too. Oh shit, Netflix is trying to get into the game. We got the best crossover ever. Okay. Hey, Netflix, you might be on one. Now, Tubi doing their thing. That documentary was very well put together. That was nice, Tubi. That was nice. I appreciate that, Tubi. You've been actually keeping us very entertained in between our Fridays to Fridays. You know what I mean? Friday to Fridays. But shit, look like Netflix got one up the sleeve. They got yet to be released movies on the way. Jennifer Lopez supposed to be in here. Now, I don't know. That seems like it might be a little shaky. Just hearing that name as the, you know what I'm saying, as the queenpin sounds a little shaky. You know what I mean? That sounds a little shaky. I don't know about y'all, but that, to me, that sounds a little shaky. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to really analyze, like, you know what I mean? J-Lo as the boss? Man. Mateo. Shit, I love J-Lo when she was in motherfucking Anaconda Pause, but the boss? Come on, the queen pin? Come on, man. That when we do it. Damn, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We got to see about that, but shit, sound like Netflix got their thing together. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do. Oh man, now Monzy, I told you I watched Mother. I went to sleep that first time I watched it, man. I tried to watch it 3 nights straight. I remember I was telling y'all, I was like, man, I tried to watch that. It's just not believable, man. I don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. She's just Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now she got a lot. Yeah, man. Like, come on, man. Not J-Lo, not the Godmother. Oh, man. Come on, man. Now I'm not knocking J-Lo, get your money, but come on, man. Man, we could have got somebody in that motherfucker. Y'all could have brought me on the set, you know what I'm saying? I would have been El Negro, you know what I'm saying? I would have been the right-hand man, you dig? One of the loyal niggas, though, you know what I mean? One of the loyal ones, you know what I'm saying? I'm like one of the only, you know what I'm saying? They call me El Negro. I'm really Hispanic, but it's just I'm darker than them, so they just call me El Negro, but you know how it is. Yeah, I'm gonna be the loyal, you know what I'm saying? The right man, hit man, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna have me on the phone calls, man. They go, man, you know, let me do, let me hook it up. Damn. I don't know, man. We're gonna see what this Godmother movie about. Hey, man. We gonna see, man. Nah, I didn't like the Mother, man. I watched it. I went to sleep. I woke up. I continued to watch it. Yeah, I just couldn't watch this show. I mean, that movie. I was like, man, this James St. Patrick. Who is this nigga driving it? Straight to sleep. Straight to sleep. But man, I'm about to get on out of here, man. My name is MoeDotJ. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's a Tubi Tuesday, man. Damn, ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on both the channels. I think we only need like 2 people on the Mo You Know. It's pinned in the chat. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Damn, tomorrow's Wednesday. Gotta get ready to do your work. I don't know. We might do a movie tonight. I'll see. I do gotta do some homework. shit. We're gonna see where we go from here, man. Less than a week. Well, not less than a week, about a week. Yeah, about 8 days, 9 days. And I'm out this thing, man. Just remember, you can run, but you can't hide.
You can run, but you can't hide.